Hey everybody, welcome back to BGN. Here today, we're actually going to be talking about a little bit about Ashes of Creation and the node system and tying that back into replayability because we believe that's going to be an important aspect in your journey in Ashes of Creation. So without further ado, we're going to get right into it. This is IPVP My Kids IRL.
This is Sir Trabulus.
This is Raging Z.
And let's get right into it. So diving right into our discussion in nodes and tying that back into replayability, let's start off with what you're going to be greeted with kind of whenever you look at where you're going to be grinding at and starting off your level 1 journey into the alpha 1 stage kind of as we're getting into. So we kind of know right off the bat that there's going to be 9 nodes, and there was originally supposed to be 8, but there's going to be 9 at alpha 1. So each one is going to have 4 different types, so to speak. In these ones, you're going to find military, economic, religious, and I believe the last one is going to be scientific. Each one of these is going to be pretty specific as to what they do. You won't really be able to have diversity inside. It's going to be mainly focused on what each one is going to be focused on. You don't really want to have you're not going to have a jack of all trades node. You're going to be invested inside of your node, so to speak, and that's what you're going to be grinding up. And your guild based, it's going to be important that you have a group that's going to be committed to grinding all of these up together, so to speak. The divine nodes, just to quickly go over them for y'all, the divine nodes is going to be your skill and equipment augment focuses. Your economic is going to be trade and merchant focused. Your military nodes are going to be combat and class. And the scientific nodes are going to be artisan and construction based. So you might want to have an idea of what you want to be going into this, like how kind of like how EVE Online is going to be focused in on this as well, and how they're able to stay so well populated in a time where MMOs are pretty cookie cutter, so to speak, in some ways. So I like how their system is just a free-for-all, and how they're able to set up of each individual node, relating it back to Ashes of Creation as their nodes, or kind of like how their space stations are set up and the way that their lines are drawn for what each guild may control. So your military nodes and the economic nodes, I'm going to find a little bit more interesting because I feel like a lot more people are going to have a lot more emphasis on trade and merchant, and then their combat and their class focusing. For instance, I could see a lot of guilds coming together to make a lot of money and then to also have a huge military force. Now, I know all the RPGers are going to be like, man, we got to go for the science nodes. We got to have the science. Everyone will always be focused on, because one of our best friends also, who's probably going to be playing with us, he's all about crafting. He will craft in Guild Wars 2, actually. He crafted all the way up from, I believe, like level 10 to 20, all the way up to level 80.
Yep.
He was collecting resources, and I believe he was actually one of the first people to go into and do that. And so he'll be joining us along the journey, I'm sure, too. And also, tying this back into replayability and kind of one of the highlights of what we kind of want to focus on is these are going to be highly important in how you're going to be leveling up, because this is going to come off a little dramatic in a way, because there's going to be a lot of political figures involved. People are going to actually step up and take a lot of control of the map, so to speak. There's going to be a lot of people holding powers, whether it be some sort of oligarchy. And we've always kind of been involved in some sort of dramatic game. We've kind of had a drawing to whenever there's drama or politics involved, because we find it interesting that players are able to make the biggest impact, and you're able to follow either a leader or you are a leader in these economic or military nodes, for instance, and you're able to kind of dive into more about what you're able to control about the map. So who you're going to be following behind, so to speak, because it's going to be hard to take your group of 8 and control a node. I wish that was going to be possible, but you're going to need to group together with like-minded people in this game and try and find some sort of common goal, because having your own town or even freehold is going to be difficult to hold yourself, because people are going to be wanting to take those away from you. So we want to see the leveling system in this case be able to be built up, and we don't want to see it too PvP focused, just to get a good leveling experience, because in these nodes people are going to be fighting for control. So I'm sure others will be able to speak on this as well. For instance, I know Raging Z has a lot more focused on the MMO side and the PvE leveling aspect, so I'll let him take over from here.
Yeah, I definitely think that I mean, I was going to touch a little bit on PvP as well, because this is really opening the door to many, many different opportunities here. Taking a look at kind of briefly over like the nodes, how long it takes for the nodes to level up, kind of the different type of node types. Kind of as you touched on before, I definitely see, looking at it broadly, you need many different types of professions in order to progress. Like, you don't need just people that are willing to, like, fight their way to the top. Like, you need merchants, you need people that can craft, you need to build a strong economy in order for, like, it to flourish. And I feel like building these node types up is definitely going to generate replayability, and that you can, just assuming that this is not the only node that you're actually going to fight for or take on, or, in this huge MMO that we're talking about. But looking back at the content, I definitely like how they've kind of at least recently stated that, or maybe even, in the past tense have stated before, that all quests, dungeons, raids, events, and NPC spawns are going to, like, be determined by the node stage and the influential race. I think that is huge. Like, being able to determine what kind of city grows, I feel like it's going to, inspire people to either, participate more or less, depending on whether or not you are of that race, or whether you definitely have that kind of focus, whether you're a crafter and you feel like you could benefit from like a merchant type of node, or whether you're a PvPer and you want to, stay at the front lines and fight to kind of help fend off sieges. And sieges it will do nothing but generate replayability. I mean, that is straight content. I mean, whenever you look at dynamic environments and you look at dynamic roles, like I was reading here recently about there being destructible environments, and I don't know, that's huge. I think
that's like World v World combined with the PvE aspect, and that's gonna be pretty neat to see.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so just launching into I'm going to play the other side here, because of the politics in this game, citizenship is really going to mean something to nodes, because you just can't turn code whenever you want to. There's cooldowns that are going to be involved with just going to another node, and you can't just easily just pack up where you've set your kind of like your home, right? Where you just kind of go and have items stored and that sort of thing in apartments or in a freehold. It's not going to be that easy. And so when you commit to a node, you're really committing to also the vassal system that's also involved with the node. You're going to have all these different nodes, and so when you make a new character, or when you just level up for the first time, you're going to have a node that's more than likely going to have all the other surrounding nodes that are going to have all the leveling that you're going to need. So what's going to happen is, when you go to level another character, you're really faced with whether or not you're going to follow the node that you've been a part of this whole entire time, and follow, okay, we've got node 1, node 2, node 3, and all the way up to node 5. We're just going to follow that system, right? Well, you already did that for your first character, right? So why don't you just go out and go to another node system? We'll hold up there. The problem with that is you're committed to this node here on your main character. So when you go and up on an alt, and go, or leveling up just another character in general, you go and level up in another node system, you're essentially helping who you're fighting against.
Oh, the drama.
Yeah,
the drama
politics starting to happen right here.
Exactly. And because of the way that this game is going to be shaped with PvP, and you're just kind of always in a flag state for PvP, it's going to be... I just see this being a problem, because if a king or whoever the leader is of this node system that you were a part of, that has where your apartment is, right, where you have your items stored, they can just say, hey, we don't like that. I'm going to send my squad out to go grief you until you get the picture, right? Because again, you can't just up and leave them, right? There's cooldowns involved with leaving and joining another citizen with another node system. And so that's going to really hurt the replayability, because you're going to be compelled to just level in the system that you already are, because otherwise, again, you're just helping the enemy out at this point. And so it's really going to tie into just how you level up another character, because again, like Raging Z said, you're going to need to have a lot of different multiple characters for this. So it's going to be drastically important to just
have a fresh leveling experience.
Yeah, and so, but also just tying in just this whole concept of replayability, it's just when you think about it from a surface level and just on paper, it is truly dynamic. You're always going to have a different leveling experience, but I just wonder how much of that's going to really be capable of given the dynamics of the game.
Absolutely. And so with that, guys, we're actually wrapping everything up here. This has been a pretty interesting discussion. We like to see games like this come up after especially dropping off from Escape from Tarkov. We saw our leveling experience truly being a blast, and we just kind of thought, hey, why don't we get the developers from EFT to come on, and why don't we tell them how to tell an MMO how to have a joyful leveling experience, because that's always been the hassle for us, is getting into the leveling experience. So we're excited to see how the drama is going to impact the replayability and the node system specifically. So with that, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. So this is IP for my Kids IRL signing off.
This is Sir Tribulus.
This is Raging Z.
And stay frosty out there, MMOers.